What's up? Welcome back to the MindShare Podcast. Wow. Can you believe it? Like, we are already halfway through the year. Seriously, think about it. Like 6 months in, gone, done, finished. And every year around this time, the same thing starts to happen. People talk about burnout. They talk about overwhelm. I need a vacation. And then most people start having these conversations with themselves, like the real conversations, like the ones that, like, you look in the mirror in yourself and you kind of just don't feel right after you have it. Or, I mean, hey, at least you should be having that conversation. Now, January's an easy one, right? Everybody's on the same page. I have to set my goals. I have to get my business plan done. Everybody's in unison and, is doing the whole, like, new year, new me. And, like, as soon as the clock strikes 12, everybody has their fresh starts and their big plans. Everybody's motivated, excited, and everybody thinks, like, this is the year. I mean, for the first few days. And then, of course, life happens. Business goes back to normal. Clients need things. Kids need things. Meanwhile, the market does its thing. The economy does its thing. And before you know it, we're sitting here in the middle of the year wondering, like, where the hell the time went? And that's exactly why I want to have this conversation today. Okay, not for you to beat yourself up or for you to feel like really guilty and feel down. And it's not to tell you that you're behind. I mean, actually, I don't even know if you are behind, but chances are you probably don't either. See, because most people answer this question based on a feeling, not based on a fact. The question of, how's your year actually going? This is episode number 390. So seriously, how's your year actually going? Like, is it good? Is it bad? Is it busy? Is it slow? Is it stressful? Is it productive? Is it, just fine? And compared to what? I mean, compared to your goals? Compared to your plan? Compared to what you said you wanted back in January, or compared to what you feel like right now? Because those are two very different things. And I think that when I really think about this, I think that one of the biggest mistakes people make is they stop tracking, right? Like the track, measure, adjust. They stop actually tracking, and then they stop measuring. And that happens really because there's no check-ins anymore. We start the year all hyped and hot and everything's good, and then the minute we kind of fall off, we start to really fall off, and then we think, well, I've fallen off, I'm not going to get back on, and then we stop looking at where we're really at. And now we don't have a focus. And when that happens, that slow burn, it begins to set in without you even knowing it. And then one day you wake up and you realize you're lost. You're nowhere close to where you thought you or hoped you or even planned that you would be by, like, right now. And I know that's not done intentionally. Most people, it's not even, I mean, some people are, like, really damn lazy, but it's not just because of laziness. And most people do care. So I can't even say it's like because you don't care. I believe it's just because most people get caught up in the day-to-day and eventually just wake up wondering, like, what the hell happened? Like, why hasn't anything changed? So I got to ask you this question. What's been your absolute biggest win this year? And don't start counting it by dollars, right? Like, we're not asking about what's your biggest deal or your biggest commission or I don't know, your biggest client. I'm talking about your biggest win. Like, what are you most proud of so far this year? Think about it. And as you think about it, don't just hone in and be like, well, this is what it is, and, like, stop there. Ask yourself, what specifically created that win? Was it something that I did that I planned to do, or did it just kind of happen? Like, was it intentional or was it accidental? There's a big difference between those two. We've said it before, you've heard the line, success leaves clues. But most people are terrible detectives. See, most people celebrate the wins. They post the picture on social, they tell the story, then they just kind of move on to the next thing in their days. And nobody's really, most of the time, not really stopping to understand, like, What actually created that result? Why did that happen? What did I do? Again, was it intentional or was it accidental? And that to me, that's crazy. Because when you go back to what I just said about track, measure, adjust, like when you win, don't you want more of it? Don't you understand why it happened? Like, do you take time to think about it for a moment? Do you think about how you can multiply the whole thing, duplicate it, like turn it into more? See, if you're not tracking, measuring, and adjusting, you're not paying attention, you're not actually studying why you won, now we're missing one of the greatest opportunities there are to actually understand, like, where's growth coming from? Think about that. How often do you pay attention, or do you just think like this is all part of the game? I got it because, I'm a good person, or I got it because I work hard, or I got it because I want it, and I'm a good person. Like, where does that come from in your mind? Why do you believe that you won? And sit back for a second and think about this. Or again, when I ask you about the biggest win, what was it, and why did it happen? Really hone in on that one, and I'm gonna challenge you to put pen to paper on that. Now, same thing. Let's flip this. Okay, as we're talking about the midway point of the year, and we're talking about the whole, resetting ourselves right now, and just the whole idea of like, how is your year actually going? Well, when we say like, what's been your biggest win, we got to ask the same question, but we got to flip that on its head and go, what's been your biggest challenge this year? And before you go and say, oh, well, the market or the economy or the inventory's low, or I mean, I guess we can't really say rates, but like, buyers suck. I mean, before you do any of that, before you go pointing fingers at anything external, let's go deeper on this. Okay? What's really been your biggest challenge this year? Like, really think about that. Because most of the time, the thing that we actually point at, it's not actually like the thing. It's just easier to point fingers, easier to blame. And like, we like easy. That's human nature, easy. But I mean, for you, how's your consistency been? Maybe your confidence has been your biggest challenge. Or your discipline to actually doing the thing or the things, whatever they are for you in a day. And we've all got certain non-negotiables that we need to be focused on. Maybe it's a lack of systems. Maybe you said you were going to do them and you never put them in place. Or maybe you put them in place and you never stuck to them. And that goes right back to the one that I said a moment ago of discipline. Maybe it's, procrastination or avoidance, like not wanting to do it. Like, you need to. But the biggest challenge has just been actually doing. I mean, here, one that comes up a lot, fear. What if I'm wrong? What if they don't like what I say? What if I don't know? What if people realize that I'm not real? What if people, I mean, judge? I mean, maybe the biggest challenge is that you've been doing a lot of things that actually don't make an impact. Like if we're scrolling social media all day, or we're constantly trying to come up with the next piece of content all day rather than making the phone calls. Don't get me wrong. We've talked about the importance of putting content out there. We've talked about the importance of having a social media profile, how it is your storefront, how people are going to go there to check you out. In saying that, we've also often talked about how important it is to make sure that we're managing or leveraging time in the best way possible. We are empowering time to help manage us. And look, I'm not judging when I bring all this up. We've all been there. We all have our ups and our downs. And I often talk to the whole thing. We hear the famous line of like, what goes up must come down. Well, I always back that one up by saying, well, what goes down must go up. And that is meant to be optimistic. That is meant to be, hey, let's look ahead and let's have some positive outlook on what's going to be happening. Let's inject some positive energy on the fact that we are working hard. And although we may not be getting the results we ultimately want at this very moment because of some of the outside factors, there's also a reality to the still work that's got to be done either way. And we still have to have a positive mindset either way. We still have to think to ourselves that it is going to work. So we've all been there, and many of us are there now. But if we're going to make the second half of this year, okay, of 2026, which is like upon us now, if we're going to make the second half of the year different than the first half, better than the first half, more productive, more successful, no, we got to get honest. Got to be real. Because challenges, when we just pretend they're not there, when we just ignore them, they don't just like disappear. They actually get bigger. They actually grow. They multiply. They get worse. They get harder to deal with. And this is where we watch so many people get lost. They get stuck. I mean, it's interesting. As I go backwards to a few weeks ago, I was with an audience, and about 25, 30 minutes through the presentation, I sort of turned to everybody. I stopped, and I looked at everybody in the audience. I said, guys, I really haven't told you anything you don't know yet. Now, I might say it in a way that, like, you like it more. It's more fun. It's more engaging. It's hitting home better. Sure, all those good things. But I turned to everybody, and I literally said, like, I haven't taught you anything you don't know. And quite frankly, up until this point right now, as we talk about this stuff, like, you know this stuff. You know that you should be learning from where your wins come from. You know that you should be, analyzing your challenges. You know that you should be focused on your business plan and what you want in life. You know these things. But again, although you do in fact know what to do, I'm finding on a regular basis that that's not, in fact, the problem that most people are having. I mean, you can Google anything. You can YouTube anything. Hell, you can ask AI anything. It's not the information that people can't get. It's what happens after you have the information. That's where most people are totally stuck. That's where most people are totally lost, right? It's that action part. Like, you should be making the phone calls. You know that. You know that. I know that. I know you don't want to because you don't know what to say. You're worried that you haven't talked to them in a long time. Fear of rejection. You just don't like making the calls. Plus, we got, those of you that are of the sort of younger generation just getting into the business thinking that everything could be text message or hide behind a screen, which to some degree you can leverage it, but you got to get in front of people if you want to win this thing. Okay, if you want to have a career in this game, especially in the face of technology and especially in the face of the access to information, you got to be present, real with people. So you should be making the phone calls, the follow up. Much the same. You should go to the gym, right? You should work out. You should take care of yourself, and if it's not the gym, you should be going for a walk every single day. I mean, a buddy of mine, He's a personal trainer. I remember years ago, it was like, do you walk? And I'm like, what do you mean, do I walk? I'm like, nah, man, I got to get in shape. He's like, no, but do you walk? And I'm like, dude, of course I walk. He goes, no. Like I'm talking like a 20-minute walk where, you're raising your heart rate and you're actually going for a walk. I'm like, 20 minutes, bro? What's 20 minutes going to do for me? And he's like, do you do that now? And I'm like, no. He goes, start there. Anyhow, bottom line is I knew I should have been doing it. I just wasn't doing it. And that's kind of what I'm bringing up right now. Right? Like, you should be having the conversations with people, but maybe you're not. You know that your follow-up system could be better, or that your follow-up, you keep in touch, your systems for how you build pipelines should be better. You know it. But what I always find, and again, knowing, or the difference is between knowing and doing. I'm trying to get that out for you. Like, those are two completely different things, right? I know what to do. Great. That's great that you know what to do, but like, are you actually doing? And that right there, that's the real challenge that most people have. That's where most people's whole New Year momentum, that whole New Year, new me, it disappears like really, really fast. And like, when that happens, that's why people's goals just die. That's why so often people get to the end of the year, look in the mirror and have the exact same conversation with themselves that they had the year prior. There was no actual growth. I mean, there might have been some goods. There was some ups and downs, and we lived. But we're talking about like literally, like, when you think about the goals, when you think about what you wanted, if you're not tracking it daily, if you're not measuring it to see what's working, what's not, and if you're not adjusting, at some point, you fell off. You're just not on track anymore. And then that's where a lot of people convince themselves, but I'm trying. When in reality, most people are just thinking, if they're even thinking at all. But like, hey, come on. Thinking isn't the same as doing, and neither is learning or planning. And just talking about it, it isn't the same as doing it. And at some point, you got to move. At some point, you have to actually do the thing, whatever that thing is. All right, let's take a real quick commercial break right now here, okay? This episode of the MindShare Podcast is sponsored by Kit's Keep in Touch Systems, your industry leader in client keep in touch marketing that drives more repeat and referral business your way. If you're not using Kits to help you with follow-up, then you're leaving money on the table. And REM Real Estate Magazine, Canada's go-to for news, insights, and what's actually happening in the Canadian real estate industry. While you're listening, head over to MindShare101.com and grab your free Ultimate Marketing Bundle. And if you're ready to take things to another level with coaching, group training, momentum training, reach out. All right, let's get back into this. If we're really being honest about where we are right now, what's one thing that you're committed to improving over the next, say, 6 months, okay, before this year's up? And I'm going to shorten that timeline for you a little bit and say even over the next 4 to 4.5 months. And why? Because, again, the new year planning, the business planning, the goals, the marketing plan, all of it, that starts getting worked on sometime in October. Why? So we could be finished by the end of November. Why? So we could take the month of December, review it, and as well, enjoy the time with family. Enjoy the time that we know we're going to take to enjoy anyways. So again, what if I asked you right now, what would be the one thing that you're committed to improving over these next 6 months? And I'm not, listen, let's not make a long list of 10 different things right now. I'm talking like one. See, most people overcomplicate change. Try to do like some massive overhaul, like overnight, like everything, cold turkey, boom. Like, again, new year, new me. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stop all those other things that I did, consistently over the years forever. And I got to lean onto this, like, I'm going to do all this stuff different. Well, when everything becomes the priority, nothing is actually a priority. And that's why I'm saying to you, pick one thing. What is it? What's the one thing that if you improved it, everything else would get easier? Maybe it's prospecting. Maybe it's follow-up, right? I mentioned both those a moment ago. Maybe it's your calendar. Maybe it is the time blocking, which I've also brought up today. Okay, do I got to get better at time blocking? Do I got to get better at literally managing, managing my day, managing when I'm going to do what I'm going to do in my day, being realistic about how much time I have in my day? Maybe it's you taking care of you, like going to the gym, like I said a moment ago, or just going for that walk. Maybe it's your mindset, right? Like, do you get up happy? Do you get up mad? Do you get up sad? Are you frustrated throughout the day? Are you a negative energy? If you had to step out of your body and look at you, are you a ray of sunshine with blue skies and white fluffy clouds, or do you look like some angry storm and it's gray in the sky and there's lots of lightning and thunder? And I mean, you get the idea here, right? But is it your mindset? Maybe could it just be having the courage to do the thing that you've been avoiding? Look, whatever it is, think about now. What does it look like in practice? I'm not talking not theory, not theoretically, not someday. right? Like, what does it actually look like? What do you got to do? Let's think about that right now. What are the actual action steps? Where would you start? Think about that thing and think about the starting point right now. Is it that you'd map out the next 10 steps and like write them down so you know exactly what they are? Is that you would just, hey, if it was, I'm going to go to bed earlier, that like you'd actually get in bed earlier tonight? What is the thing? What is that first step so you can do the thing? That's what we got to figure out right now. Okay? And I'm talking now, like not next week. Like, what is going to change? And again, if nothing changes, and if you wait till next week, I'm telling you, nothing changes. Let's make sure that is in stone right now. Now, I want to leave you with a few action steps, okay? Because first of all, what do we talk about here? Let's see. We look and say that we are now at the midway point of the year. Literally. Crazy how fast time flies. Like it feels like we literally just celebrated New Year's. But it's crazy because when you start to go backwards in time and you start to think about what have you actually done over these past 6 months? Where have you been? Who have you seen? How much business have you done or not done? Have you done vacations? What have you accomplished? Maybe there's a spouse or children. What about them? I mean, think about all the things that have been done over these past 6 months. We've already conquered a ton of ground, a ton. But like literally in the blink of an eye. And again, as we have this conversation now, it is meant to be a conversation that most people wouldn't have till the end of the year. Why? Because again, it's not the time of year to normally do this stuff. Everybody kind of waits and they do it like, it's like a trend. Everybody falls like sheeple. Oh, everybody else is doing it at the end of the year. That's when I'm going to do it. No. We do it now. In fact, we do this 4 times a year where we, mind you, you want to get real technical here? We do this daily. And I mean, that's part of what happens when you're working within the MindShare 101 ecosystem, right? Although we spend a lot of time having fun and we spend a lot of downtime, in terms of just enjoying life, we got the throttle pulled all the way back and we're moving fast. We conquer a lot of ground. But we do it with a good mindset. We do it with good personal health. We do it with a lot of focus on family time. And the only way to accomplish that is to ensure that we've got the right systems in place and that we are dedicated and committed and disciplined and all that other stuff and accountable to ourselves. And that's part of having the quote-unquote system. Or as we've called it in other arenas, the game plan. So we've talked today, a lot about your year. And my goal is to try to get you to internalize. Hence asking you, what's been the absolute biggest win? What has it been? And then once you know the biggest win, why did it happen? Really trying to hone in on that. Like, what caused it? Let's not just say, luck of the draw. I found a 4-leaf clover. Like that's come on. You're doing yourself a disservice there. To really hone in on it. What caused that big win? Flip it around. You go to the biggest challenge. What caused the biggest challenge? What was it? What is it? And oftentimes it's probably us. Probably us in our own heads. Probably us just not taking action. And then what are you going to do to be better? That's really the big thing. What's the one thing that you're going to change to make sure you can be a better version of you for this back half of the year? Because we got all the time in the world to become a better version of us. We got all the time in the world to accomplish even more. All the time in the world. Question is, what are you going to do to do it? Now, action steps. Outside of those and beyond those. Because these are where we're going to get a little more tactical to what I just said to you, okay? 3 action steps which are really crucial to you winning the back half of your year. And it's going to help you off the first part of today's show around biggest wins, biggest challenges, what do you want to improve? The first thing here, or the next thing here I might say to you is we got to review your goals. Are they still the right goals? Like, seriously. I mean, sometimes people get so attached to goals that they set, 6 months ago, 12 months ago, hell, 24 months ago. And then people kind of go like, am I allowed to adjust? Am I allowed to change up like how much? Because I've been doing a lot. And quite frankly, I didn't think I would do this much. And it's become really, really easy. Can I make it a little bit harder? Should I make it a little bit harder? Well, yeah, why not? Challenge yourself. Or maybe there's going to be something that you want to add to the list. Hey, you know what? I really, really want this. Okay, so throw it on there. Why not? Focus on it. If you want it, focus. Take action. Maybe there's something on there that you look at and you say, you know what? Not in line with who I am. I thought it was something I wanted, but the more I think about it, the more I sleep on it, the more I realize, not me. And they take it off the list. It's okay to adjust. We're not quitting. We're adjusting. And that's okay. Like life changes, business changes. Life happens and business happens. I mean, people change. Review the goals. And these should be, and I'm going to say should in like air quotes here to really impress upon you that they should be reviewed daily, as I mentioned a moment ago. Because that's in fact what exactly prevents, you from drifting so far off course quietly day by day. Right? Like if every day we're not really paying attention, just a little bit off, and then just a little bit further off, and then just a little bit further off. And then at some point you're like, I'm going to look at my goals. I don't want to look at my goals. I'm so far off, I can't even catch back up. I can't even keep up. Thing is, though, and again, that's what I was saying a few moments ago there about, working within the MindShare ecosystem. When you focus on your goals every single day, like every single day, you look at them first off the top of your day instead of social media. You schedule them accordingly in your calendar. And at the end of the day, you look at them again instead of social media to acknowledge how much you actually accomplished. You're essentially resetting every 12 to 24 hours. Like instead of once per year, think about this. Instead of once per year, we're literally 365 times we have reset. And if you're doing this twice a day, where you look at them at the top of the day and at the end of the day, you could actually double that number. Like, this is where we're at by this time of the year. You should be looking at these daily and having that constant focus. It's a constant reminder where you're trying to go. Again, why wouldn't I keep looking back at the map? But like I said, most people only do this once a year, and that is exactly why we're talking about all this today. Okay? Thing is, though, and the thing to also keep in mind is that, most people who do this once a year, maybe, most people also don't achieve what they truly want in life because it only happens once a year. So review your 2026 goals. Be very honest with yourself. Honestly acknowledge where you're at. And then get into the habit of reviewing daily to keep you on track and focused. Second action step here. Review your marketing. Okay, this is a moment right now where we've got to review your marketing. Are you actually showing up? Are you building enough mindshare? Have you got your 10-year plan in place, your bulletproof follow-up system? Is there enough passive touch points happening to remind people that the doors are open, the lights are on? Are they getting something from you consistently, whether you're physically there or not? See, this is how we prove to people we're legit, we're real, we're in business. They've got to see that we've spent some money. They got to see that we got systems in place. They got to be able to experience and feel it. Because when they're getting stuff from you consistently, but you're not actually there, in their minds, you're positioning yourself as somebody who's in business. You obviously have stuff going on in the background. It's consistent. You continue to show up. Again, you continue to remind me that the doors are open and the lights are on. So are you creating enough touch points? Like are you out there enough? Again, are you building enough mindshare? I mean, one of the biggest mistakes that people make is they disappear, especially when things aren't going well, especially in tougher markets like we're in at this very moment. And then crazy part is when people disappear and, because the market was tough and they just decide I'm just going to wait, I'm going to hold back, or I'm not going to do. Those same people wonder, why did my business just slow down? Well, hey, out of sight, out of mind. It's always been like that, and it'll always be like that. So specifically, Review your marketing budget. Okay, how much are you spending monthly? Like when you think about your needs and your wants in life, what needs to be paid every single month to pay those bills? Like how much money has to go out the door? Well, once we know that money, between both the needs and the wants, now we can work backwards and say how much money you got left over for like a marketing budget. What can you afford? How much are you spending monthly now? That's something you got to be looking at. So we set the budget based on what we can afford. Then we review how much are we spending now? And based on how the year is going, can you afford to keep spending that money? Or are you over budget or overspending? Which could, in fact, just be the root cause of your biggest challenge. Hence why I said, think about your biggest challenge. But go deep, not surface level stuff. Not the, oh, I didn't like that buyer at that last property. Like, no. Talking about going deep. Then, review the marketing channels that you're using for both groups 1 and 2. You know your budget. You know what you are or are not spending on, or where you're overspending. Now you're going to review the marketing channels to figure out, what am I doing for both those groups? Am I using all 7 different ways to communicate to each group? And am I supporting one channel with the next? Okay, so again, if I embarked on that I'm spending money on lead gen, or I'm running, social media ads. Have I got the right follow-up system in place? Have I got the right timing in place in my day to make sure that I'm following up with any of these new opportunities that came through, and that I'm putting them into a database for ongoing keep in touch and building that mind share? Are you supporting one channel with the next? Is there something you're doing which is really working well that maybe you should double down on? And what might not be providing the ROI at all? That, hell, you know what? We're 6 months in. I've actually been doing this for 12 months. I think it's time to cut it. This thing ain't working. And again, thinking about budget and thinking about, just being in a slower market and the economy just overall being tighter. See, the goal here is, and by the way, when you use your deal tracker, where you're tracking every single deal that you're doing, where you're not just tracking like the amount of commission you're making, but you're actually tracking the source of the deal, where they group 1, group 2, what marketing brought it in. It's also going to be a telltale to like, what should I be keeping? What should I be spending on? What should I be investing in? What should I be cutting? What should I be getting rid of? See, the goal here is to hone in on what's working and what's not with your marketing. And again, most people maybe do this like one time per year around the end of the year during like business planning season. But my goal is to always make sure you are not most people. So instead of just one time per year, I want you to do this 4 times per year. See, this is an exact exercise that should happen around the halfway point of the 3rd month in each quarter. So let's say that again. This is an exercise that should happen for you around the halfway point of the 3rd month in each quarter. So if we look right now and we say, well, what's the 3rd month? I mean, literally, as you listen to this episode, you are right there. We're in the 3rd month of Q2. In a couple of weeks from when this episode is recorded and you're listening to it, hopefully, you'll be moving into Q3. The idea is to prepare ahead of time. So if every time we're getting to the sort of halfway point of the 3rd month in a quarter, you start looking at your marketing budget just to see, hey, and it won't take you long. Don't get into some procrastination mode going, oh my God, I got to sit down for an entire day or like, a weekend. No, you don't. This is about blocking, say, 30 to 60 minutes in your calendar to have an honest look at all the stuff I just mentioned to you around marketing budget, between needs and wants. What's the budget? What can you afford to spend? Between the channels you are using, what's working, what's not? Are you supporting stuff? Between the channels that maybe you need to get rid of. We do this 4 times a year. You review your marketing so you can maximize your ROI, and you ensure that you're building MindShare, because MindShare equals market share. And the 3rd action step I'm going to give you here before we close out today. Run your AAR, your after action review. Similar to kind of what I asked you off the top today. I asked you about your biggest wins. Well, I want to know, and I want you to do this, right? When you ask yourself these questions, what worked? What worked? Over these first 6 months, what actually worked? Then, what didn't work? Be real. What's just not working? And you got to be honest with yourself and forget the bravado and the ego and anybody else listening to you. Do this by yourself so you don't have to worry about like, oh my God, I don't want to tell anybody that I wasn't doing the stuff or like that I'm not as good or whatever. Like, none of that. Okay, so what didn't work? And the third question, what are you going to change? Okay, so again, you figured out what worked, why. You figure out what didn't work and why. Now, what am I going to change? What am I going to improve? What am I going to do to commit to myself to be a better version of me for these next 6 months? Simple. Simple but powerful. Because again, most people just continue to repeat the same mistakes year after year after year because they never stop long enough to actually learn from them, from those mistakes. But I've said it before and I'll say it again. Pen to paper is powerful. Don't just think about it. Okay, don't just let the voices in your head run rampant. Don't just say like I know what it is. Don't just say it. Okay, I hear that all the time. Oh yeah, I know. No. Write it down. I challenge you to write it down. I challenge you to be honest. I challenge you to bring it to life. Put pen to paper. And have some very real realizations for yourself. Because truly, that's how any of us grow. Track, measure, adjust. Look, the second half of the year, it doesn't care how the first half went. It doesn't care if you're ahead. It doesn't care if you're behind. It doesn't care if you crushed your goals or completely missed them. It only cares what you do next. And that's the beauty of it. You still got 6 months. 6 months to change the trajectory of your year. 6 months to create the momentum that you want. 6 months to get back on track. 6 months to do the work. Try, fail, learn. That's the path to success. And as long as you're adjusting along the way and you're looking for the good and you're doing some of the repetition on the good stuff, it's all about taking action and getting shit done. I'm David Greenspan, reminding you to build MindShare because MindShare equals market share. Thank you to Kits and Rem for sponsoring this episode of the MindShare Podcast, and thank you for tuning in. Now go get that shit done. I'll catch you next week.